Does Marvel want an army of Mysterios? Because this is how you get an army of Mysterios. Please be sure to subscribe if you're not already. Hit the like button. Let's go. At San Diego Comic-Con, Marvel just announced a buttload of new movies and shows encompassing the end of Phase 4, the entirety of Phase 5, and a few awesome surprises for Phase 6. Now, you guys know I love Marvel a lot. You know, I love the comics, the characters, the creators, the industry, the stories, the world. I love it. But we need to talk about a huge problem that's growing within the media giant. So looking at this article from thegamer.com from July 9th, written by Rhiannon Bevan, VFX artists are refusing to work with Marvel due to stress and unrealistic deadlines. VFX artists are speaking out against Marvel, with many refusing to ever work within the entertainment giant again. This comes as artists share accounts of unworkable deadlines and immense pressure, leading to stress and unsatisfactory final products. Many have requested to never be put on a Marvel project again, saying that the studio has the worst VFX management out there. These allegations have been made on the subreddit r/VFX, with artists across the industry sharing their negative experiences with the company. Almost no one in the subreddit has a good word to say about the employer, with many saying that the money and star power aren't worth tolerating such poor working conditions. So yeah, this is not good. Marvel being the largest film company that's putting out, blockbusters full of visual effects these days, they need to be more responsible with how they treat their workers. It's as simple as that. That some of these accounts that are in this article are, pretty upsetting. And this is worker exploitation, pure and simple. Not something that's exclusive to Marvel or even the VFX industry. Within this economic system, we find ourselves, struggling to exist within. This is a problem across the board. Workers are exploited. Now, I don't mean to downplay what's happening with Marvel one bit, but there is a little bit more nuance to it that we'll get to in a few minutes. One account says, "I request to not work on Marvel movies and TV shows. Unfortunately, they're becoming our biggest client. They expect a smorgasbord of options so they can change their mind 3 more times." Those who haven't been able to avoid working with Marvel confirm that it hasn't improved in recent years. "I'm almost on 3 years straight of Marvel. Welcome to the 7th level of hell." Another user shares that their time at Marvel has been a black hole of sleep deprivation and eating bad. These accounts began to surface, in mainstream news around the time Thor: Love and Thunder came out. And I personally loved Thor: Love and Thunder. I know a lot of people weren't too happy with it, but, maybe that's just the internet that I'm seeing. People aren't happy with it. Because a lot of people I've talked to really enjoyed it. Nonetheless, I will not deny that there's some kind of shoddy looking effects shots in that film, which only supports some of these accounts that they're, basically it's kind of like video game crunch, crunch within the video game industry where they're, working long hours, overtime and overworked and underpaid in the last run right before the thing is released so that they could, finish up things here and there. And it seems like there's a commonality with this issue. As with video game crunch. And what that often leads to is a crappy product, or at least, below standard. So you've got substandard product, and you've got exploited workers, and then you've got, the audience pissed off about all of it. And none of this benefits Marvel, right? So what is the answer to this? Unionization. And that's where we get into another layer of this that popped up after the story started circulating. This Twitter user, Ashley Lynch, says, "I thoroughly dislike this trend of article. It takes problems that are industry-wide and points the finger at one culprit, creating the illusion that if one company changes how they operate, then the problem is solved." There's a lot of responses to this that are kind of baffling to me, because it seems pretty uncontroversial to say that, this is a problem with Marvel, but it's also a problem in the industry as a whole. But a lot of people seem to take that as she's deflecting from criticism against Marvel, as if she's just some blindly loyal Marvel fanatic. And, I don't think that's the case when you look at what she has to say. Unrealistic timelines, non-VFX literate directors, excessive changes, added shots, and low bid contracting are uniform across the industry. It's not a Marvel-specific problem. They're just one of the largest clients right now. This only gets solved with unionization. Now, you may take everything else that she had to say as like, oh, she's just defending Marvel. But that last line, renders that moot. This gets solved with unionization. That not only solves the problem with Marvel, but it happens in other studios as well. It's just that we're hearing more about it because of the output that Marvel has going on right now. Marvel's putting out a lot of and I'll be honest, I'd rather them not put out anything if it means that they're going to have to exploit their workers to this degree. Like I said, this is a problem within capitalism generally. You look at Amazon warehouse workers who have to pee in bottles, and you look at, like I said, video game crunch and the exploitation going on there. And this is the same thing. And none of it is specific to one studio or brand or whatever. Sure, it's probably worse in some or the other. Maybe it's worse at Marvel than Warner Brothers or whatever, just by sheer output. So the volume alone is going to make it worse. I'm not defending Marvel whatsoever, but I am saying it's important that whenever a story like this comes up, we go, okay, that is a problem. And then we take a step back and go, let's use this that is now gaining traction. A lot of people are seeing this story. Let's use it to have a conversation about the industry in general and the solution to solving this problem across the board, which is unionization. So I think it's weird that certain people are taking this as, oh, you're just deflecting from Marvel. That's really silly. And I think that you have a pretty narrow perspective if that's the way you're looking at this. Of course, online people love to use Marvel because it's the most prominent, prolific brand out right now and successful. People love to use it as a punching bag because, cynicism sells online. Cynicism gets clicks. And there are valid criticisms of Marvel. I just did a video that came out recently about how they don't pay the creators of the comic book characters that then go on to make billions of dollars in film. So I'm fine addressing the problems within Marvel. I'm not going to blindly defend them, okay? I will defend them against bad faith and just flat out dishonest attacks like you hear from anti-SJWs and stuff like that. But when it comes to stuff like this, it's actually about, the labor that people provide being exploited, extracted, and without compensating people for that labor fairly, it pisses me off. And that includes working conditions that are substandard. Whether they're not getting time to take breaks or they're having to work double overtime and, sleep deprivation and so on and so forth. Whatever it is, it pisses me off. And as much as I love Marvel, I'd love to see employees treated fairly, like human beings. So, like I said, this is a problem within Marvel. It's also a problem within the industry as a whole. And I don't think those two things are mutually exclusive. In fact, I think, like I said, that when a story like this comes out and these types of things are circulating, the rational, pragmatic thing to do is to go, yes, it's a problem. Now let's talk about how it's a problem industry-wide. And if we can, solve the industry-wide problem, we're also solving the Marvel problem. Unionization is the only way to go. It's the only solution that ensures that employees are treated fairly, they're compensated well for their work and their labor, and they're not exploited. That goes for Marvel, the broader VFX industry, every other sub-industry within filmmaking. That goes for the video game industry. That goes for Amazon. That goes for Starbucks. Unionization is the topic of conversation that we need to ultimately be having whenever these types of stories come up. Don't make it about your, I hate Marvel or DC versus Marvel or whatever. Like, that's childish. It's stupid. It's petty. And it doesn't benefit anything except, making you feel good that you typed it on Twitter or in a comment section or whatever. Unionization. Make that the topic of conversation. Don't downplay these grievances. Don't say that, it's not, Marvel's not a big deal. It's part of the whole industry. No, you don't need to negate what these claims are saying in order to have this conversation broadly. And it's not a binary issue. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and make sure you're subscribed. If you're not, I've got a lot of new subs lately and I welcome you to the channel. I'll leave some links, up here in the corner for videos, how you can, kind of get a taste for what my channel is about. Leave a comment. If you or someone works in the VFX industry, tell me a little bit about your experience. If you want to talk privately about your experience, anonymously, email me actualfandom@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Ambassadors, not gatekeepers.